Welcome to the RCVR ERC podcast. I'm Kevin Truss with co-host Shaun Moyes and Jared Dyer.
I'm just the guy that sits in the background and laughs. That's what I say every time, so I'm just going with that. So
okay, perfect. Anyways, Jared, today's not about you.
I know.
This is you know what? I'm usually the one that does the intros, but Shaun.
Yes.
I kind of want you to do the intro on this one.
Oh my
gosh. Is like, I'm nervous to do the intro. I'm not going to do it justice. We're going to turn it over to Shaun because he's not going to do it justice, and I'm not going to have that on my shoulders.
I'm not going to do it justice, but this could be like a 10-minute intro. Jeneanne Orlowski is a very integral part of our program. She's one of the very first people that we brought in the very beginning when we were going after very high-level CPAs and tax attorneys.
The highest level.
The highest level. Jeneanne is a tax attorney, but not just any tax attorney. So as it relates to ERC, she's one of the most knowledgeable people about the CARES Act and ERC, one of the most knowledgeable tax attorneys in the nation on this, because this is all she's done literally for years since it came out. Previously, she did R&D credits, and so she has over decades experience of working with the IRS and the government about government tax credits, which makes her very knowledgeable and smart on how the IRS thinks in these situations. But in the last few years, it's been specifically ERC. So she's a tax attorney who has dove into this and actually knows her stuff. She is amazing. For any rep who's been on a phone call with her, they know how smart she is, how well she speaks. I could go on about dollar figures and things like that, but Jeneanne does everything from helping get documents out, final reviews, high-level phone calls with clients, understanding ownership structures. She is amazing. She's from Michigan. It's probably going to come up about 10 times, so let's just get that out of the way.
At least.
She's from Michigan.
That might be all we talk about in...
Well, and Buddy. She's got a dog named Buddy. That is for sure also going to come up.
I think we might turn this one into an 8-part series. Buddy's going to be 4 of those parts.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I'll say is Jeneanne is a very humble person. She never tells you how smart she is and how many degrees she has.
Now I'm speechless.
Yeah.
I was going to say, maybe we should have Shaun do all the intros. That was really good. I would have been
amazing,
like,
talented.
This is Jeneanne Orlowski, and she likes to party.
I like to party.
She does like to party. But the truth is, all that kind of jokes aside, super knowledgeable tax attorney on ERC, and we are so grateful to have her on our team.
And I love being here.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
I can't wait. You really are one of the most pleasant people to talk to. Anyone who's ever rubbed shoulders with Jeneanne, you can't leave the conversation in a bad mood, but you're always like, why do I have so much energy right now? Your energy is contagious. It really is.
Well, thank you.
So before we dive into all of this tax stuff, I can't wait to talk. We're going deep accounting today, which is one of my favorite topics.
Oh, yeah.
It's riveting. But why are you so happy?
I was just born this way, as Lady Gaga says. Really, my mom asked the doctor if I was going to grow out of this as a child. He said yes.
So you've always been in a good mood.
Very energetic. That's definitely it. I work on the positivity. Like, it definitely takes effort to like maintain that state of mind, I think. But I definitely like wake up with the energy.
That's so funny you say wake up with the energy. So I notice that's kind of how I gauge my goals. Like if I'm really bought into a certain goal that I'm pursuing or something, I'll wake up excited, right? I'll wake up, I'll be like, okay, let's go. And then if I wake up and I'm having to like force myself to like wake up, then I'm like, gosh, I gotta recalibrate here because I'm not as excited about today as I should be, right? So either way, I kind of wake up and I gauge it that way. So when you wake up, are you just like, let's go, let's woo?
I'm a little tired in the morning. All right. I like roll over and look at Buddy because he's my best bud. And he's tired. He's like, why are we getting up already, Mom? But yeah.
What kind of a dog? Let's just get this out of the way. Yeah. What kind of a dog is Buddy?
So I did the DNA test because I'm a millennial, and so he's half Shih Tzu, and then he's almost equal parts Chihuahua, Yorkie, Toy Fox Terrier, and Rat Terrier.
He sounds big.
He is 17 pounds of pure muscle. He's got very short legs though. So
just so everybody can kind of put a picture to this, this is a relationship where Buddy has many outfits.
He has lots of outfits.
He wears sweaters and
including
shirts
a tie.
And things, like just so people can kind of actually understand what this relationship looks like.
Working remote is great. I mean, I have one coworker I see on a regular basis. It's Buddy.
But the positivity thing is really cool. And that is something that kind of stands out with Jeneanne. She is a very positive, happy person. And how many times have I talked to you where we've had a quick virtual chat and I've just said, Man, I needed this
so many times.
She lifts me up. It's really fun.
I really
she's a
enjoy
really
that.
positive person, and she can put that off on people, which is good. Yeah.
I'm surrounded by great people, so that actually really helps. It's a big difference in your environment.
Yeah, your environment matters.
It really does. It influences it a ton. So I think as I've gotten older, I've seen that, and quality over quantity of time and interaction. So I think I try to implement that and like who I spend my time with and how much time I spend. Like if I'm tired, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I love when people are like, yeah, make sure you surround yourself with the right type of people. Like when you get to choose who you're around, make sure you're like-minded or the people you want to be like, because that's who you're going to kind of conform into. But I think a lot of times people consider them choosing who they hang out with is their free time, right? And then at work, I work with these people. These are the people I work with. I've gotten to a place where I work with the people that I want to do life with, that I want to enjoy being around, because that's where the majority of my time is spent.
Yes.
And I like to work with like-minded people. I like to work with my friends. And so we really do on every side of this business. I feel like there's like a really cool environment and culture, but let's talk a little bit about, I want to go into your background a little bit, but talk about like the culture that you guys have kind of created, because it's different. It's remote. You guys aren't all coming to the building every day, but you guys you're joking around, you're talking all day, like in Teams and on video.
Can I preface your answer really quickly? When we pivoted, decided that we needed to build a tax firm, we brought in 2 CPAs, Brett and Travis Slade, and 2 tax attorneys, Jeneanne, Orlowski, and Ashley Hall. So as we're talking about this culture that she's going to explain, hopefully everybody understands that Jeneanne was right from the very beginning of the back end, one of the very first people we hired to make this go. So
yeah, and I think it starts with, Travis has been amazing as far as his personality. Like I think who your leader is, who your mentor is, makes a big difference and kind of starts the structure of what you will build off of. And so I know that I need to be positive when I give feedback, or when I'm being, reflective of where we've come in just a little over a year. It's amazing to think of that. So we run into a lot of speed bumps because we are, a startup essentially in terms of the tax portion of our business. And there's definitely days where like, oh my God, now we have another problem. We have another thing we need to fix, or like, didn't expect this to come up today. But in terms of when you look back at how far we've come, it's like really encouraging. And we tend to focus on how positive that is. So again, surrounding ourselves with really great people from day one and making sure that we have that be nice part of our culture, and really just growing it from there in terms of wanting to spend time with people. Like no one wants to be attacked. No one wants to have their boss say negative things to them. So when I try to give feedback, I try to phrase it in a way that I'd like to receive. And then in terms of, recruiting people to come on board with us, like it has been me trying to find those people that I've gelled with and worked extremely well with in my past too. So some of those are new employees that I've never met before, and some of them are my friends that I know I can trust, and I work really well with them. So I've been very careful of, as we've been bringing people on, who we bring on, because
they fit this culture. Are we going to be able to work well together?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's been like something I've protected since day one, along with Travis and Ashley. Really love that who we've brought together. And then we try and, encourage that through like when we've done our retreats here, have everyone come together, because it is a remote environment, to either have those meetings once a week, even just to like bring some energy to it and like remind ourselves like, oh yeah, I might not talk to that person every day because I don't need to do my job, but we're on the same team. And I should remember that I'm not alone in my house all day. I really do have a whole network of people I work with.
So a lot of people listening are remote, and you're remote. But you're incredibly involved, and you actually, you work out of your home office with Buddy. So you have brought in people on. That's important. And the Horns, some very important people to our program, because the Horns, there's some brothers that are on the back and on the accounting side, and they're really talented people. And you brought them here along with some other people. So real quickly, because Kevin was asking about like the culture and what you do, what did you tell them about our company when you're bringing them? Because you obviously sold, right?
Yeah.
So, a part of the culture. So tell that.
I definitely was selling the fact that like we are good people. I was genuinely shocked by enjoying my coworkers on a daily basis, from the top down, from the bottom up. Like I've since day one always felt like you guys were genuine people. When I first visited with Ashley, I was actually really impressed that, we were going to dinner that first night. And I believe Shaun, you and Chris were both like, okay, gotta go tuck the kids in really quick, and then we'll go meet you at the restaurant. that spoke volumes to your guys' values, and that you weren't just like, okay, got to go party, got to work all the time. Oh yeah, I have that family I haven't seen in a week. You know, you really prioritized that. And we saw that you guys, again, had really good values on a business and a personal side of things. And I was able to tell my friends that. I was able to say, I really do have flexible work hours where I'm not like glued to my computer all the time. And like, I can, take a doctor's appointment or take my dog for a walk during the day instead of being stuck in a building, 6 hours or 16 miles away downtown. I really could have that flexibility and really enjoy who I was working with and the autonomy that I had.
Awesome.
That's awesome. One thing, just for clarification, when you said Shaun and Chris need to go tuck in their kids, they each have their own families, actually. So I do want to make sure we're clear.
They do.
They both have their own beautiful families. I think Chris together you would make even a better one. But I do want to. So Jeneanne, I actually want to dig more into the culture side of it, because I really do think it's so unique. When I think accounting firm, I don't think of, I bet that place has an amazing culture. I bet people love working there. It's more like, do you think anyone talks? Do you think there's whole days when like 100 people are in the same room and no one says a word? Like, I know that's like obviously an exaggeration, but you guys have fun. You're the funnest like accountants and attorneys and things that I've ever been around. So I do want to go back to that a little bit in a minute, but let's talk about just a little bit for how good you are at your job. You're kind of young, honestly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I remember when we were first talking about you, it was you and Ashley was like, well, man, if we could somehow, well, I guess let's give it a try. Like, these are like the best at what they do. So it was a really big deal. You're a big deal, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But no, it was a big deal when you guys came over for us and everything. We loved it. And it was like, man, like it took a leap of faith for you guys too. And I thought that was really cool. But let's start over a little bit and just tell us what made you get into accounting, especially with your personality.
Right.
I just like, how are you not like just like the greatest salesperson of all time or a talk show host or a positivity coach or whatever?
Oh my God, are those options? I'll take them.
I don't know if they pay anything, but yeah. So,
well, it's funny because I always wanted to be a lawyer since I was a little kid. Like crazy. I had a lot more stubbornness as a child, a lot more of my parents called me Meanie Jeneanne. And they also called me Jean the Dancing Machine. So the energy's been there.
I've actually heard people call you that. They didn't even know that was your nickname, but go on. It
is what my parents nicknamed me, aptly so. So I could definitely have my like moody moments and, grew from that over time and realized what to focus on. But I always wanted to be a lawyer, and people said, oh, you're argumentative. Yeah, you'd be a great lawyer, And I remember actually specifically in junior high, someone said something about being a tax attorney. And I said, oh, no, I would never do that. Literally was like, that would be the most boring thing ever.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
Yeah, that's what I said. So I remember that and decided I wanted to go into family law, which is like the other area of law people hate.
Also
and
sounds horrible.
I was good at it though, because I'm good with people. And that's the one thing I really liked about family law is like, it felt somewhat repetitive. Like it was something you could get your stride on, right? It's very like, well, this is the process. And I'm actually one of the few attorneys I think that likes math. And so I like it because there's rules and you follow the rule, you get the answer.
3 times 7, go.
21.
She's good.
I'm good.
Okay, go on. Sorry, I need to fact check.
Been working on it.
Hold on, Jared, get out your abacus. Is that correct?
Let's see.
For all the accountants out there, an abacus is just joking. Keep going.
Yeah, so I, went into family law. So I actually am
Where did you go to college?
I was going to say I'm from Michigan. So I went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor for undergrad.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. Love Michigan.
Wolverines.
The Wolverines. Yep. Not to be confused with those Spartans, the green team. Yeah. Ew. But then I went to law school at Emory in Atlanta. Never thought I would live in the South also. And went and enjoyed Atlanta, except for the traffic and except for the snow and ice that they still got every year. And said, okay, I'm going to go at the time, move up north and live in Chicago and practice law there. So I was in a family law firm, prestigious boutique family law firm. They were not the nicest people. And I would walk around the courthouse and people were pretty miserable all the time. Like everyone was just not happy, like living like the best life. Like I had great conversations. I had great colleagues, But like, it didn't seem like everyone was like super fulfilled walking around the courthouse. And then it was just too cold. I couldn't do it anymore. And I said, I need to escape the cold. It's negative 35 here.
I need to go back to Michigan.
I was going to go. That's where I was going to go.
It's nice and warm.
This does not compute.
You don't have to walk to get anywhere in Michigan. That is the key.
That is true.
So I was going to move, Michigan. I was taking the Michigan bar, actually. I was already licensed in Illinois. And then my friend told me, oh, why don't you come work for my company in Houston? You don't have to have a license for Texas and give it a shot. So I went into the consulting world from there. And that was actually a huge, like gut decision of like, do I like lose this identity of being like a lawyer? But I'm not happy. I'm not like loving this life. I mean, I like being a lawyer in my head, but really wanted to kind of take a leap and try something better. So that's how I got into consulting and into tax consulting specifically. And being an attorney, I think you really are good at issue spotting. So taxes, you have to be detailed, detail oriented. And, I do like math and I learned Excel. It took a little bit of time, but Joey will tell you I did not start out very good at Excel.
Well, I like that. And then with one thing led to another, you ended up with ERC Pros.
Yeah.
And you're like, I never thought I would be the queen of such an amazing company.
Yeah. When my friend that was a recruiter, she like found me and said that I have this opportunity in ERC. My first response was no. I was like, that's so hard. It's so new. Like, it's a lot of work. Like I've been working on it and like, it's hard, And then she's like, well, it's a remote, position. And, it's just a phone call. Start with a phone call. I met Travis and I felt amazing. That instantaneous, like this is a good person feeling. And so happy I did it,
So let's talk there for a minute. So honestly, one of the things, I can't think of a conversation I've had with a company where I didn't go over the bios with like what, in an effort from a sales side, in an effort to create credibility for our company and to give peace of mind and confidence with the person I'm talking to. I don't talk as much about ERC Pros. I talk a lot about you and Ashley and Brett and Travis and because it really is so impressive, like how good you guys really are. And really like that is where they should be getting their confidence from more than, hey, look how cool our website looks or things like that, right? Which is like the typical places people would go for that. So tell everybody what makes Travis so good.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Eventually we're going to have Travis on here. He's such a humble dude and he'll dance around that question. So what makes Travis so good? Why do you love working with Travis?
He is so positive. He is a very hard worker. He would not, just like me, I think wouldn't ask anyone else that he wouldn't be willing to do himself. And he's just like really laid back. Like he's like when he says like, oh, I got mad. And I was like, ooh, did anyone even notice you got mad? Like you were mad about something? Like, but also.
Was that a new feeling for you, Travis?
Yeah,
you want
right?
me to talk you through it?
Well, the best part too is like, if you make someone like Travis Slade mad, I feel like you messed up big. Like,
that is not a challenge, people.
That's not a challenge. But like, that's the thing. Like you respect him so much because you want to do good work for him because you respect him and you enjoy his company, you enjoy his leadership, and like he leads from the front. So I really think that that's part of the secret is wanting to be part of his team and like wanting, just like other people have teams here on the sales side, right? Like you want to work hard for your team and want your team to succeed. And he's the start of that. Like he's a really hard worker and he's really smart. When I have a question, I go to Travis because he's a CPA and like he has little nuances in his background that I don't have as a tax attorney.
Can I interject just a little pitch? So to kind of, this is going to come up again when we interviewed Travis one day, but when Travis was kind of the first person that came in, right? Brett and Travis. And I remember we were here at headquarters. I went down by the gym and I actually begged him and Brett. And I joke about it sometimes. And I said, you guys honestly come across as really good people. Mm-hmm. Please just join this team. I promise you we're good people. You're good people. This is a match. And the truth is he's a really good person. And the reason why I said that is because there's a principle. He acts on principles, which makes him good, right? And we've talked about that through several podcasts. It's kind of a tie-in, right? People that have principles are really good at what they do. Kendall, Isaac, we can go back through everybody that's been on so far, and Ashley. And there's like principles that they act on. Be a good person and have principles. Like that's a good way to live life, both like in your business life, but also your home life. And when it's a principle, it's kind of the same thing. And the reason why you, right at the beginning of this podcast, you had mentioned there's good people here, right? That's because you're a good person. And so you pick up on that. And so honestly, just a really cool tie-in of just, there's a lot of good people involved on this campaign, and people that are principle based, which is what Travis is, but it's really a conversation about Jeneanne, and it comes back to you being a good person as well. And recognizing
thank you.
that.
Well, I think it goes a far way of saying you're going to attract what you are, right? And so you should have never come here. You were way overqualified and you were way too good for us. So the fact that you're here, it means that you were attracted to the opportunity and the people here, right? Like if Travis would have been a different person on that first call.
Oh yeah.
And a year and a half into this, he's still that, and he's still leading from the front. He's not looking to take his foot off the gas. My favorite thing about the culture of every department here at ERC Pros is like it literally the higher up you get, the harder that person's working. Right. And it really goes watching Travis, watching Redfern, watching Jesse Christensen, watching Shaun, like watching, on the sales side, like watching the regional man, like these guys, and girls, like the higher up they are, they don't look at that as okay, now let me delegate this and get off my plate. It's like, I'm going to delegate to get off my plate so I can focus even more time on this thing that I can make a bigger impact in. And the amount of times that I know you work remote, and so I don't get to see it, but the amount of times I see, you and Redfern or whatever on a call still at 7:00 at night. Yeah, that was my way of saying I'm still here too, just so everyone knows. But no, it really is like you guys all like try to outwork each other, and I love that culture also, right? Because you're not just talent and hard work. Like it's hard to find that mix, but you recognize it when you see it. And that, like you said, that you saw that in Travis, and then just be kind. Like he's a kind dude. Even attorneys can be kind.
Yeah, we really can. There's not, a secret in the book or anything, just do unto others as you'd want done to you kind of a thing.
Quote it.
Yes.
Quote it.
The golden rule.
We should call that the golden rule.
I think it is literally called the golden rule.
No, you just came up with that. All right, we're going to get into ERC now, but before we do, I have my 10 favorite lawyer jokes.
Oh, do it.
I'm just joking.
I love lawyer jokes.
No, so why do you love ERC? First off, why was it scary, actually? Then we'll talk about why you love it.
Employee retention credit was really scary at first because it was so different than anything we'd done previously. And I, like you guys said, started it when it came out. And if you remember, everything was changing. People didn't know what they meant in their own rules that the IRS was issuing. There were all these changes. Does this impact other taxes? Can I take PPP and this credit? Like just so much confusion. And then when you're trying to apply it to an industry you're already working in with very specific rules for the tax credit that I was working in, the rules may be conflicted or you require different types of documentation. Clients are so scared because they don't understand what's going on. So in real time, you had this learning curve of, I need to know what these different tax forms are. I need to know what these, different situations are. Is this credit refundable? What's a refundable credit? How do I file for it? It was chaos. And on top of it, in the middle of, a pandemic that we were all dealing with at the same time. So at first I was just like, oh man, this is exhausting to learn. There's so much to learn and unpack here. But I was juggling another tax credit at the time that I'd been working on for a really long time. And I had an established client base. Now you're working with not only your existing clients, maybe some new clients and industries that's the cool thing about the ERC is it opened up the benefits that we were delivering to clients way outside of our normal industries. So now you were working with laundromats and restaurants and, all these different types of clients that you'd never work on with the research and development tax credit, which is what I previously did. And so there was so much to learn and so much anxiety with, am I doing it right? Like you don't want to do it wrong.
And to keep the right context, this wasn't you in a vacuum as a single attorney. Jeneanne worked for a very large firm at the time.
And
so this isn't her in a vacuum. This is her and part of a very, very large tax firm feeling this way.
Everyone was kind of anxious and everyone it was a lot of word of mouth because it's like, well, now I want you to go read this 150-page act that the Congress passed and you have to figure out the nuances of it and apply it. And I'm like, it's tax season. I'm too tired to read 150 50 pages.
Oh, and another amendment just came out. Could you learn about that too?
Yeah, and could you learn about this client and do this interview, or we're going to change the, when something's new, you have to flex. And so, starting ERC Pros, like, it was a new company and we got to really mold our process, but over time we have perfected it. And, we're going to take those lessons learned and apply them to, the future tax firms and tax services that we offer. But that was the hardest thing, is that it was just so new that I really resisted at first. And I was like, I just want to stick to what I know, like what you're comfortable with. But when you go outside your comfort zone and do a little change, actually is when I've actually seen the most, prosperity in my life, leaving Chicago, taking a chance and moving south, leaving my company and coming to ERC Pros, like these big changes in my life were actually like some of the best. So
let's keep going with his question. Because the real question was, why do you love ERC? But first, tell us why you don't. So now that you told us what was hard, now let's take a positive spin and let's go with Kevin's question of, like, why do you love it now? Why do you love it, and what's so great about the way we do it? And when I say we do it, it's basically what you've built in these processes, right?
Yeah, I think what I love about it is that, again, there's rules. So there's not a lot of gray area. Really, it's a fact-finding mission that we do, and we have to lean on our clients for that, to get us the right facts. But at the, same time, there's not a whole lot of gray area, and we just need to collect the information, calculate the credit, and it's something that's fully refundable. So every client can really take advantage of this, whereas other tax credits and deductions, the client might just not be able to actually use it. Like, there might be a benefit out there, but they were not paying enough in taxes, so it's not beneficial to them, or other, reasons that it might not.
Kind of disqualify them from it.
And I know what you mean, because you're trying to tie it into like R&D, but to make sure our listeners understand, if a client is eligible for ERC, it is a benefit.
Exactly. That's the best part about it, is that there is a benefit to be had if they qualify and they paid their people. There's a calculation that we use, and we can calculate a credit for them. So I think that's what I like best about it, is that, you can help so many people, and you can really tie it to like one of the most chaotic times in our modern day history, and everyone can relate to being uprooted by COVID, and I get to give you money back for all that you experienced as a result of that.
Yeah, that is really cool. I love it when there's so many like little wormholes you can get inside of it, but in the end, it's like, gosh, there are a lot of businesses that have really had a rough time, had a rough go, and it really is so fun helping them. Like, you're actually just helping them. I don't think there's anyone who's come in the front door of our company, come out the back end with a credit that isn't way better off for it. You know what I mean? Where unfortunately, there's been things I've sold in the past where I like to think every single person that, got more channels by the time we left their house was better off for it, but it probably just made them more lazy or whatever. But but it's fun. It's fun working on a project that it's like literally the only thing it can do is benefit the customer.
I literally tell people I get to give away money for a living. And it's from the IRS. No one wants to be like, oh, I'm taking money. You don't want to take money away from someone, but like the IRS, like everyone's like, yeah, I could take a little bit more money back from them. Like, yeah, I don't want to pay taxes.
So everyone really wants to know, where's all this money coming from? I'm just joking.
I don't know. Hope they budgeted it.
So let's talk a little trash on some other companies for a minute. I'm just joking. So Travis got up. So we just celebrated hitting over 500 million filed, which is a really cool milestone. And you played a huge role in that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Travis gave up. And for anyone who wasn't on the call or there in person, honestly, if you were there live, you'll never forget it, because it was beautiful. Travis really knows how to move a room. But in it, he talked about, he made a comment. He goes, hey, we just want to thank everyone for being patient. We wanted to make sure we did this right, and we weren't going to sacrifice doing it quickly for doing it correctly. He goes, but aren't you glad we did? Right. And if you think about it's still so fast, like how quickly we've built what you guys have built is in the short amount of time, while building the process, while bringing in new people, while getting them trained, and while also filing over $500 million. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing to like really look at that. But how important is compliance with the ERC? Not just, let's actually talk specifically ERC. So how important is compliance? And like, I love that we do it the right way. Unfortunately, I know there's companies out there doing it the wrong way, and you probably have like a better feel of like, well, they're doing it wrong because of this or whatever. So how much fraud do you feel like there really is out there, and how important is it to do it the right way, and what makes us do it the right way? Like what really sets us apart?
I think that it is extremely important on the compliance side. Everything that we do not only applies to the specific like ERC tax rules, but also other rules within the tax code and the, professional responsibility laws on the, tax side, on the CPA side and accounting side and law side. So really there is in Circular 230, there's some discussion on compliance and how you have to comply, and how if you see something you should be able to take your client's word for a lot of things. But if you identify something that is suspicious, you have the, responsibility as a tax preparer to make sure that you're investigating that and not just, going forward with something that could be fraudulent. So actually we have, quite a few of these accounts that come in, and like we have to be scrupulous and say, this is definitely like a made up company. And like when you Google the address, it's a like empty lot on Zillow, or like a McDonald's. Like you would be surprised with what you find when you just look at it. So there are some just absolutely fraudulent, like companies literally don't exist, no employee was paid kind of thing, that I think the IRS will be honing in on, and hopefully that's where they're spending their time, is one, people that don't even have companies, and then two, there are these businesses out there that are kind of the fly by night that the IRS is warning people about, and rightfully so, where they'll just have you, fill out a form and say, were you impacted by COVID, yes or no, and give you a credit for every dollar for every employee up to the cap. And I have been on those phone calls with people that didn't do the credit with us, and they're now on the back end trying to say, oh my God, I just took a $1 million credit. Do I need to be worried? Should I cash this check? And it's a hard conversation because someone, I feel like, took advantage of them and just, gave them money and got a commission off of it that they weren't entitled to get. And now the client's the one that's got to be scared at the end of the day. So compliance is very, very important.
And let's take that back to the listeners, right? To our reps who are working in this program. Two things that I took away from that. Number one, by putting our clients, we took the time to do it right.
Yeah.
Right? And it did take time. And by doing that, we've put our clients in the best possible situation. It's now been publicized that Figure is the new tax firm, right? ERC will fall under, and that way we can do tax resolution and other things. And so by doing it the correct way, we have clients that will appreciate that. And for the reps, there's going to be future opportunities to work with clients that we work with now and more, all because we did it right. And they're going to want to stand by the people who are willing to do it right. And the proof of that is simply that just this week, the IRS released what's called the Dirty Dozen. They talk about the 12 most egregious tax fraud opportunities, and they put ERC with the wrong people as one of them. Within hours of that being circulated, ERC Pros put that on our social media, LinkedIn. We put it out. We're not afraid of those kinds of comments because we truly believe in a process that's correct. And one of Jeneanne's main roles is compliance. That's what Jeneanne's done for this company is manage our compliance and make sure that it's correct. And so that when the IRS does things like that and says, hey, you need to be careful of third parties that are doing it wrong, we're so confident we will take and push that.
Yeah.
Right on our social media within hours and say, hey, clients, just so you know, this is what the IRS is saying. You do need to be careful. The reason why we're willing to put that out there isn't because we think it's going to scare people away from us. It's because we're so confident in the compliance that you've helped build. So A, thanks for that. And B, for everybody listening, what Jeneanne has helped us do and build this proper compliance is what has helped create a future opportunity with Figure for everybody that's on this call listening right now. That's the continuation after ERC Pros. It's this tax firm that is compliant based, run by good people, putting clients in a good situation. You can go to bed at night and sleep well and look your children in the face and know that you're doing a good job for a good company the right way. I think that's really cool.
Well, and I was going to say with that factor of, doing it the right way and not being afraid of it, I love telling people, when I've been on the calls with these clients, sometimes I tell them, yeah, we've turned away about a third or more of clients that have applied. And they actually love hearing that because then they're not like, oh, you're just taking every client. Like we really are doing a compliance process. And it's unfortunate that not every client qualifies. There is a tax code. It's black and white. It says how you qualify. And I know almost every business was impacted by COVID. That is not, any kind of negotiation or debate there. It's really just, did you reach the level of impact that the IRS is willing to give you a tax credit for? And that is a very black and white, thing. And it's unfortunate because I want everyone to get, compensation for the issues that they encountered. But at the same time, we have to follow the rules. And
yeah, I want to touch on black and white really quick. So the first time this ever got explained to me, there's 3 ways you can qualify. You can do it off revenue, but the best thing is you could do it off government orders or supply chain. And that's where it's a giant gray area, because tell me one company that didn't get affected by COVID in some way or form or fashion. So there's a nice gray area there where pretty much everyone qualifies. Okay, that was the first, and I was like, okay, that just doesn't sound right. Number one. Number two, if it's good to be too good to be true, it always is. But number 3, that makes me nervous. I don't like gray area. Gray area usually turns dark, right? is what I've noticed. And so my favorite thing the first time talking with you and Ashley was when you guys were like, oh, we don't think there's any gray area. It's very black and white. You were the first people, and I had talked to quite a few people in the ERC. It's crazy to me that you were the first 2 people that were 100% like, no, this is black and white, right? And so just explain. And I love that our clients, every client gets I call it a substantiation packet, but it substantiates everything we just did. It's very clear what we did, but it's also very compliant. And it shows exactly why we did what we did and all of that. And so dive into, just for like 30 seconds, just if a company is like, no, but we were affected, it doesn't matter. There's no gray. How important is it that it is black and white? It's
so important that it's black and white because, everyone wants free money. Everyone wants to say that they were impacted, but there has to be a screening process. Either it's going to be a screening process on the front end, which it should be, or the back end, which is an audit. So you don't want a bunch of people getting audited because we just allowed everyone to take this credit. There has to be a process that you're doing your due diligence on the front end to make sure that you are eligible for this credit. And I think Ashley and I, that's the best thing about both of us. We get along so well. I can't believe Travis picked us out, and like we're so alike, but we have no problem saying no, especially to like the big corporate people that are saying, well, I want to do it this way, or isn't this the way we do it? No. And honestly, there's really nothing special about, like, I'm an attorney that, has learned this stuff, but it's because I just read. I read the tax code. I read the notices, and
sounds riveting.
I know, it's super exciting, but that is why we know it so well. And that's my biggest advice to any reps that are out there that are trying to learn ERC and trying to educate their clients, or get a client to qualify, is read the tax code, read the notices. It's not actually that long of a process once you have a little bit of an understanding about ERC. It makes a lot more sense when you start going and reading all that jargon. When it came out, no one had any idea what they were talking about as they're reading this stuff. So now that it's, settled in our brains, you really can unpack it. There are things that me and Ashley have done some very like rabbit hole type research projects on. But at the end of the day, the core law is black and white, and you really can understand it and apply it to your clients' facts, because the IRS is giving you specific examples of what qualifies and what doesn't. You just really have to take the time to read it and, go through it and kind of commit it to memory and apply it to your people.
Let's give the listeners just one target to start with. So pick one notice, 2120-23, or which one?
2120. That's the best one to start with.
So if our listeners just Google IRS notice
2120.
And there's an FAQ section as well.
Yep.
There's enough information there. You can spend several nights if you want to, or you can blast through it, which a bunch of us at headquarters did in one night, actually.
Yeah, you could blast through all 3 notices in one day.
Let's start with that.
One of the best nights of my life. It was actually fun. Yeah, for those of you looking just for a fun night of education and...
if this is what you do for your livelihood, though, it's worth it.
No,
it's
definitely
It's worth it.
That's the biggest thing, is I will say that there's no secret sauce. There's not like Jeneanne went to this law school or she studied this, and that's why I was a divorce law attorney, guys, like before I got into taxes. Like, I just really had to look at information. So that's the other thing is looking at tax returns, I had an issue the other day where like, why is the revenue off by $6,500? And I was like, well, let's open the tax return. Literally found a $6,500 figure. I was like, oh, that's it. That's what it is. They just got to look. You got to literally take the time to learn your craft. And what did we talk? Didn't Isaac talk about this, perfecting your craft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, we got a listener.
I listen.
Not just a guest, but a listener.
Fan.
I'm a longtime listener, first time caller.
Shirts are coming. Shirts are coming.
So, well, you're from Michigan. We haven't even talked about Tom Brady or Eminem yet, but I'm not ready to go there yet.
Or the Detroit Lions.
I'm not related to Dan Orlowski, but
all the big names.
I know. He's a sportscaster, I hear.
So, question for reps. So, one thing I love about like a salesperson and the way that a salesperson might work is usually instead of reading the tax code, we'll just go sprint and figure it out. And we're going to learn and like as we go, we'll ask questions and we'll get it. But I'm not going to quit running and I'm not going to quit approaching people because I know the more people I talk to, the better chance I have at turning that into, closed deals and accounts and file credits and all that stuff. So, but there's definitely a smarter, a working harder and working smarter. We talk a lot about that on this podcast. And so I'm excited to hear from the Queen Bee herself.
Queen Jeneanne?
Yeah, because I've actually seen you on calls with clients. You're one of the best salespeople I've ever met too. And what I want the salespeople to hear is it's not because she's so knowledgeable necessarily. It's because she's so pleasant. I'm serious. Like it's very hard to talk to you and get off the call and not feel like you just had a good time. So even if you're a brand new rep, like have confidence in the fact that the way that you make that client feel is more important than the knowledge that you have. But once you have the knowledge, that's going to make you really good at your job, right?
Well, and I think that's what in any situation that I find myself in, I think I perform the best when I have confidence. And the confidence comes from experience and knowledge. Mm-hmm. So even me getting on a call, like I want to know what I'm getting on that call about. I want to know a little bit about the client on the front end so I can speak confidently that I've reviewed their information or I know their specific tax situation, their specific question. And I speak so confidently on the phone because when I get these calls, it's like, I know the tax code frontwards and backwards. I know this area of the law. And if I don't know a specific question, I have no problem saying, I don't know off the top of my head if this rule is being applied this way. Let me go check. I know where to find it. I know I can find it, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, it's 100% this if I'm not 100% confident. So I will tell people exactly how they qualify, answer their questions, whatever, comes my way. But if there's something I need to follow up on and research, I think they usually appreciate that because then I'm looking for an answer that applies to them. And so that's why I always encourage people, perfect your craft. I speak so confidently because I know what I'm talking about and I know someone can't outsmart me or say, well, no, it doesn't say that here. That's why, I feel like I'm successful is I will study and make sure I don't speak about something I don't know anything about.
So that's one of my favorite things. One of the most powerful things you can do, not just as a salesman, but just any business relationship. When you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know. When you tell them, but I will find out and I will follow up with you, and then you give them an expectation of when you'll follow up. When you follow up and you do know, I promise you they're more impressed with that process and that answer than an answer that's 80% right, but you'll let them know if that's wrong and then never go back and fact check it. And if you're wrong, that's not good, right? And so anytime you don't know, I love the answer. I don't know, but I know I can find out for you and I will let you know. Can I call you by 3:00 today? If I have an answer for you by then, would that be quick enough? And they're like, oh yeah, of course I'd be fine. And then I make a point to say, hey, I told you I'd call you by 3:00 with the answer. I actually have it. I know it's a little early. Please forgive me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Sorry for over delivering.
That's what I was going to say. My other key trick is under promise, over deliver. I
promise you it is a lost art.
It is, so, especially in the tax world, like everyone's like, I want this by this date. You promised me this date. And I was like, I didn't know I was going to get sick. I had my gallbladder out last year. Didn't think that one was going to happen, but here I am. Like, I will do what I need to do to communicate ahead of time your expectations or let you know why it's not going to hit this date. Like telling someone on the front end I'm not going to do something in a certain amount of time is much better than just missing the deadline.
This is a great topic. It has come up literally almost word for word on this podcast with somebody else, and that is giving a client the truth. I have a absolutely amazing 30-minute training on the LMS about client sales because I do have a very long history of experience with client sales. And the thing with client sales is trust and getting the client hooked in because you are delivering the truth and the product that they need, which is different than just showing up in somebody's door and getting them to just buy a product like one time really quickly. And the way to suck in somebody on a client relationship is to be straightforward and transparent, and they know you're getting them what they want. If you shoot from the hip, that doesn't happen, and they can sense that. But whenever you say, I don't know, if there's a logical reason why you don't know and you're just going to find it, now they know, oh, this is a client relationship I want. I want to be this person's client because I want the truth. I want the correct answers. I don't want somebody who shoots from the hip. And if they're willing to go find the truth, that's more important than the time frame it takes to get it in most cases. So I love that now we're talking from a tax attorney standpoint, but a client relationship is the same thing, whether you're trying to sell it, keep it, close it, from sales on the front end, Kevin and I, to a tax attorney on the very back end. It's a very important part of the client process. I love that.
Well, and I think it's really the part of the code to live by kind of a thing. Like as we talked about growing up, I was told you got punished for doing something wrong, but you got punished twice as bad if you lied about it. And really like that has stuck with me in terms of how I don't have to, think of the story I told someone if I'm lying, and that's like your word is your bond. Your word is your name is your bond. Your word is your bond, that kind of thing. So I don't lie. And if anyone ever accuses me of it, I get really upset about it because I never want to have to, think twice about what did I say? What was the excuse I had? Like if you always speak honestly and are honest, like I don't know everything. Like I'll be the first to tell you, I am not the smartest person in the world. Like I am not, but I will read the tax code and I will do my due diligence and study things and learn. I'm an avid learner. Everyone should be every day. So go read your tax codes.
So let's say you're a rep and you're just getting into this right now, knowing what you know. What would you, of course, learn as much as you can, read the tax code. You've already given some like really good, advice on how to get better at your craft and things. But if I want to eliminate as many do not qualifies as I possibly can, and really use my time the best way possible, other than getting trained on how to do this, who would you focus on? Like anywhere in the nation, what industry would you go like start with? And would you try to get good at just like the ERC in general, or would you find like one industry where this hit and you would go plow forward there and go through your learning curve there? How would you approach it if you were a rep?
That is the key to everything. Work smarter, not harder. And so I was actually Googling this last night, as not even in preparation for this, just kind of as an inspiration, because Travis and Brett and I and Ashley have been pushing since day one restaurants. We've been like restaurants and bars. Here it's a pretty saturated market, or the credits might be a little smaller. The key is, again, find that unicorn. So I was actually Googling last night, largest restaurants in the United States. I was just decided, I couldn't find United States, so I found worldwide. And then I just took screenshots of all their names. But I found, there's Shady Maple Smorgasbord in East Pearl, Pennsylvania, Sequoia.
Wait, hold on. That sounds like a buffet, and that sounds so good.
I don't know.
I want to go to a smorgasbord.
Yeah, it's a large affair, but 110,000 square foot
buffet.
Main dining room. That's all I got.
Okay, I'll take that lead.
It can churn out 3,000 eggs for omelets a day. Just saying.
Text that over to Kevin and I for a future date.
There's a place in D.C. There's a buffet in Kentucky. Now, these are just some random companies I found on a blog about, the biggest company or biggest restaurants in the United States. Very possible they've already taken the credit, but who knows? But if you're serving 3,000, let's say, patrons a day, how much of a wait staff do you need? And was that wait staff open in a very specific state like New York or California where you were shut down? So I think with, revenue qualifies any potential candidate, any potential client. So if they were shut down and actually had a decrease in revenue, then that's the easiest place to go. So again, buffets, I don't think we're doing curbside delivery. but they had employees, and maybe they had a lot of employees and they weren't really high paid, or they weren't, full-time staff. So you can, have that full-time employee threshold be not as big of an issue. Or they're in a state, again, where it was very strict, and maybe they were a dining room type restaurant, but then they switched to curbside, and they had these impacts for a very long time. But again, they had those large numbers of wait staff, and the wait staff was paid decent enough that they hit that $10,000 salary limit. So again, what comes to mind is like a Ruth Chris Steakhouse, who was going to get steak during the COVID pandemic? I mean, I got takeout once or twice, but it was restaurant week.
Little flex.
It was restaurant week in Houston, so I had to get it.
So to answer Kevin's question, then the fact that we've just been talking for minutes about this does illustrate pick a target and then work at it. It sounds like what our answer was. And restaurants are one of the 9 targets that we have put together in a slick that every rep has access to. So they can choose restaurants and do what you've done and just Google. And as the more you were talking about it, because you singled out one industry, this is exactly what a rep can do. And they can start to understand, okay, well, if a restaurant did this or that, or if, had this effect. And the more you kind of dig into an industry, the more you'll become an expert at that and be really good. So we've done a lot of work to narrow it down to 9 industries that we think are fantastic. Restaurants are one of them. So go ahead and pick 1 or 2, and then spend, if you're new, spend a week or 2 just really digging in, put in a lot of effort to gain knowledge and experience, and just, get through those first couple of weeks really hard. Kendall talked about that. Just work really hard your first 2 weeks. Don't make any excuses, and get good at an industry. So I don't know, was that a good enough answer?
No, I loved
for
it.
you? Was that where you wanted to go?
No, and I just was wondering if your lawyer accounting brain works the same as ours, and it sounds like it does.
It really does. Like, I literally was Googling this like last night. I was like, I'm just curious. Like, what are those really big, and I think of like malls were shut down. I don't know about Mall of America and how many stores are in there. Galleria in Houston, a huge mall with lots of stores in there. I don't know. Like, I don't know if, those are great targets because they had so many stores and, but they didn't have a lot of staff maybe. If I go into, a Journeys or something, it's like, I don't know, 10 people on payroll maybe for the year.
Some great shoes.
I don't know. Exactly. They have some good shoes, but not a lot of people. So again, you want to target, entertainment venues. If it's Chuck E. Cheese, I don't know how many people work there. But if,
a lot of puppets.
Yeah.
It's a lot of puppets. And I don't know if those pay out on the ERC.
Think about, just like entertainment thing, like Topgolf is the one I've been thinking about a lot. There's like 300 bays, and there's wait staff. There's, the equipment cleaning staff, there's just a lot of staff, and it's not necessarily a full-time job. It's someone's like summer job, or, they're part-time people. So that's what you're going for at the end of the day. You want, enough people that you're, getting substantial wages, or potentially hitting that $10,000 cap of wages. They're paid decent enough to get there. But high volume is going to get you a bigger credit, but you have to make sure you're not hitting that full-time employee count of either 100 in 2020 or for 521. So really you want a lot of part-time people. So
let's make sure that hits home.
Yeah.
You got to get industry, a restaurant. That's great. A family restaurant that is owned by family and has 5 employees and 4 of them are family is not a good target. But within the restaurant, what you want to find is an industry. Let's just take restaurant out. Let's find an industry, a business that it looks like they pay their employees good, because again, it's a refund on what they've paid. So if they pay their employees garbage, there's not a lot of refund there, and a lot of employees. So you want to find businesses with good employees, good employee count, who looks like they pay their employees well. Right?
Yeah, and hopefully they're not all full-time, because then you can get to that higher amount of employees without hitting that full-time employee count too early. So again, if you're worried about a certain industry, being saturated, then to me, the key is to go where it's not saturated and there were still impacts. So New York's a very densely populated state. So is California. Find that niche of an area where it's just not getting a lot of attention, not getting a lot of foot traffic of people coming in saying, hey, would you like to take the ERC credit? Or they have, honestly, a lot of these businesses in some of the smaller towns around the big cities, they don't necessarily have really big CPA firms that they work with. For example, it's kind of a mom and pop type CPA that they've been working with. A lot of these CPAs didn't have time to even learn the nuances of the tax code for ERC. They're so busy with just their normal stuff and then PPP applications on top of it. So we've actually found a lot of clients who are like, yeah, I'm so glad we're working with you because our CPA doesn't know anything about the credit. And that's not a dig against CPAs. It's really just they didn't have the time to devote to this like we have. This is all we do for a reason. And so that's the nice thing is that they can come to us for the expertise that we have and then apply it, So I think that there's a lot of restaurants out there and a lot of entertainment type venues out there that just haven't gotten the attention that they could if you just work smart and strategically and find the right types of businesses in the right parts of the country.
Love it. Well, we've been talking for a little bit. There's one last thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to have you do your best impersonation of Eminem.
Oh my God.
On an 8 Mile. We just announced the name of the new firm Figure. The logo looks great, Shaun. Thank you for that, sir.
Oh.
I love it.
I know. I want to hear, the ERC has a shelf life. We know this, right? The ERC credit, but Figure does not, and there's a lot. So give us just like the quick, what are your thoughts on the future? What are you excited about, and are you excited about it? Or are you sad?
I'm super excited. I love so obviously we're going to be doing tax services, like tax strategy services. And then one of the big things is the research and development tax credit. I worked in that for almost 8 years. And then a lot of the colleagues that I've brought over have experience in that tax credit as well. And I used to be a project manager. I literally calculated the tax credits, was the face of the study for the client. I did everything from front end sales and like closing the deal all the way to doing the credit to making sure they paid their invoices. And then also if they got audited, how did we make sure we were preparing for that? So I really know that credit and that process in and out. And I feel like starting from scratch and building out a program with that knowledge in the background of how to do it the right way, how to do it efficiently, because it can be a longer process. I think is super exciting. Taking out a lot of trimming the fat on things that don't matter, that, aren't important, take time, distract, what have you. Like we want to do it the right way and bring in great clients on the front end so that we're, working smarter, not harder in terms of the quality we bring out.
A great takeaway for listeners on that, then it was clear how much knowledge you have around that, which is awesome. So as we built ERC, it was kind of new and we had to learn a lot as we were going. But as far as moving Figure into these things, between your knowledge on R&D, between Ashley's knowledge, between Brett and Travis on tax resolution and things like that, we're actually moving into a field where our people already are very well versed on that. So instead of another learning curve, it's like now we're going to move into areas that we're actually very comfortable with. So that transition will be very smooth for everybody who's on board with this company, which is really cool.
Love it. Last question, Jeneanne. The salesmen want to know, who is your favorite rep in the company? Not on the account. Who's just your favorite sales rep?
Oh my
just
God.
say it.
They all it's whoever loves me the most that day.
Such a
whoever gives you the most compliments.
I know. Is Jeremy Osmus a salesman?
No, but I didn't ask for your least favorite.
A, no, and B, you're not allowed to shout him out.
What? That's why I did it.
You don't have to embarrass anybody with your favorite, but are there 2 or 3 reps that you want to shout out that have done a really good job?
I mean, I have developed really great relationships with so many reps, and even through the trip we went on recently, it was so nice to see people in a non-work environment. So obviously I've worked a lot with Isaac.
Tell us one thing you like about each person if you want to.
He's really tall.
Yeah,
perfect. That's exactly what I was going for.
He's really happy. Isaac's really happy. Okay. He's a very positive person, and I think actually it was really funny. Early on, he was one of the, you guys talked about it in your podcast with him. We had to be sorry, this industry does not qualify, and he is still around and he's kicking butt. Yeah. So that's the way, you take your licks, but you learn from it and you adjust and calibrate as a result. So it's not like he ever got sour about it or mad, my accent's coming out right there. But he never got upset with us over it, and really just was okay, I'm going to find the industry that does qualify, that I can excel at. So that's something, I definitely took away from that interaction. I honestly really love working with Ashley Rawson and Sarah Horrocks. Like, they're super driven women. I'm all about that girl power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharon Dominguez, what up?
Yeah,
Little
Sharon
shout
too.
out.
Yeah.
You got our girls.
Yeah, I got to know them really well on the trip, and the girl power there and like the camaraderie with it too. Like, there wasn't any kind of like mean competition. Everyone was trying to like learn from each other and have fun. Like, so I actually really enjoy getting to know those 3 ladies on the trip. And just in general, you know, I work with them. They reach out. They're very polite. They ask questions. They try to learn the why behind things. And they're very driven, which I love a good driven woman.
We all do.
Right? Yeah. Girl power.
It's unanimous. That's awesome.
Well, I'm sure you could go on and on and on because there's a lot of cool people in every area of this company. But Jeneanne, thank you for being here. I'm glad that we had you in person.
I'm so excited.
This was so fun. I don't know why I was so nervous because you were great. And so now I feel
you never know what I'm going to say next.
I'm actually really surprised.
I know. We got
made it
through this
through.
good. But no, I want to thank you for coming on. My goal with this, with interviewing you, was not only for people to get to know you, but the amount of confidence that especially our reps, but also just anyone in this company, like, the more you get to know the people in this company, the more confidence you should have in the people that you're working with, but that also you should be able to like that. You can't fake confidence in what you're representing. I think it's very hard to fake that. And so hopefully we all got a lot of confidence and should be able to build credibility even easier the more that they get to know you and your team, because it really is so impressive. So they'll have it on Slicks, your bio and all that stuff, but hopefully today helped them really get to know you a little bit better, and just realize what great people we have on the back end of this, really making the engine go. So thank you so much, Jeneanne.
I want to thank you. I want to give that shout out to our team. Like, our Outback team is full of amazing professionals. You know, we work
For
really.
those who don't know, Outback team, the tax attorneys, the accountants, the CPAs, the people who are working on the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone works really hard. You know, we know that we are serving clients and we're working as a team to get there, and we collaborate all the time. We work really hard. So I just want to make sure I give that little shout out to my team, because I couldn't have the time to help on some of the more complicated issues and help training and doing the things I do if it weren't for having such a great team that I know I can trust to keep the ball moving. So really love my team.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I'm so glad you were on. Just 2 really quick takeaways. A, Jeneanne, an incredibly talented and knowledgeable tax attorney in our field. So I always tell people, we don't just have a tax attorney working on ERC. We have one of the best who actually understands it on our team, leading it from the front. So it's great that you take all the knowledge and experience and what you're good at, but then it's also, you're just this amazingly fun and positive, good person. And that's a win-win, right? Because some people can be really good at what they do and they're just not great people, and it's sometimes not worth the energy. You're the whole package. So thank you for being so smart and so experienced, and also for just being so good.
You guys make it really
awesome.
easy. So thank you.
Jeneanne Orlowski, the whole package. Yep. Hey, thank you, Jeneanne. You're awesome.
Thank you.